Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Jessica Kong. I'm the Festival Director of Happy Fest. Thank you so much for joining us on our 7th day of the festival. I hope you enjoyed all of tonight's films. And just to let you know, we have pre-recorded Q&As for Goodbye Vietnam, Third Culture Kid, and Love Letter to Houston. All three Q&As are available now on the YouTube channel of OCA Greater Houston. And please note that Third Culture Kids is only available tonight, so please watch it before it's gone. Tonight, we get the opportunity to dive in deeper with the filmmaker of Swingin. As a friendly reminder, this Q&A is being broadcast live on YouTube and Facebook, so please feel free to ask any questions and leave them in the comment section, and we'll try our best to address them in today's interview. Now, joining from Taiwan, please welcome the director and writer of Swingin, Daniel Shang-Sing. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Jessica.
Thank you so much for joining us on this early morning in Taiwan.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's really an honor and pleasure to have swinging screening at your festival.
No, thank you so much. I think it's such a relevant story that needs to be told. And, you know, it's just this beautiful slice of life film about a family that happens to be, a gay family, or a gay parents with a little son. And so I really think it was beautifully told.
Thank you.
I really want to just kind of dive right in because you describe your film as essentially two separate stories, a visual one to tell the boy story as well as an audible one for the stepfather Hugh story. Did you find any challenges in intertwining these two elements without distracting or detracting from the other?
Well, first thing, just to begin with, to answer your question, there's one thing I'd like to mention that I actually wrote the feature length story first, before I came up with this short film. So to bear in mind, this film has a feature length structure at the beginning, and so Hu Jiahao and Qiu Qiu, these two characters coexist, in the feature structure, and each of them has his own story. But to be honest, I did not see these two stories, for the short, in one piece until later, when I adapted the feature length into a short form. And it was actually the music that put these two stories, into one piece, and theoretically, for the short, Cho is the leading role. He's the hero, and I can even tell that story, Cho's story, without audience knowing his parents.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I can't do it because I can't tell the story just this without introducing his parents, especially Hu Jiahao, the character, because in fact, it is Hu Jiahao's story. It's just in a literary tone, like for a drama, it's Cho's story, but for a poem, for poetic sense, it's actually Jiahao's story. Cho is actually Jiahao's past, and his shadow. So it's when in the end the story, Jiahao, he is the person who actually learns, and realizes, that his childhood nightmare could happen again to his son Cho. So he's actually the person who learns the most, and I want the audience to follow that too, um, not just following Cho, but also following Jiahao, that he has made a change, at the end of the story. So to answer your question, the challenges, of in intertwining two stories. It's actually the sound, the music that helped, the to match, to put these two elements together. Um, I think it's a narrative too, I think it's a poetic way to do it, And one way you see Cho's story, but when you listen, Jiahao playing trumpet, it's, sight and sound. You have two big elements, going on, and and without me telling you in words, there are two stories, but they are actually, you know, two sides of the story,
Right.
so I guess that's what I'm trying to do in this work.
Oh, I really like that. I think you overlaid it really well. Having, um, you know, both both stories told very succinctly, and how you can compare it, like you said. So it really makes me happy to hear that it's actually a feature film. Is the feature film actually, was that created first, and then you created this companion story, or is it still in production? Or
I created the feature story first, and I always do that because I think I grew up with watching lots of feature films. I mean, these days you get to see a lot of shorts, but at the time when I was a kid, it was feature films. It was actually Hollywood movies, most in theater, and I enjoy cinematic experiences. Going to cinema and watch a film on a big screen. So when I write stories, or whenever I have ideas, um, I always go with feature length. I rarely write a short film to begin with. I always write feature story first, even though I don't necessarily make every story into a feature, but I enjoy doing that. I enjoy writing a long form, and then I pick the essence, the core, and then I can always find out something that I really want to tell, and then if I can tell it with a short form, I tell it with the short form. I don't necessarily have to go to the long form.
right.
Um, uh, yeah, but for swinging, I'm still contemplating. Yeah, whether I want to keep going for a longer form. I'm also like getting feedbacks from you guys, from festivals, from audience. Yeah, I'm still contemplating, and also because of this pandemic, everything's changed.
Right.
The story was written in starting from 2017, and
Hmm.
then we shot it last year, 2020. So yeah, a lot of things have changed. So
Right. Well, I'm definitely for the four category to seeing this
oh,
into
thank
feature
you.
length. I think, um, you definitely drew us in to the parent story as well. And so I'd really love to see that played out on the big screen as well.
Yeah,
But we can definitely dive in towards the end of the interview to convince you of your upcoming projects with this being a feature.
I do. I did. I keep hearing people saying they want to know more about the parents, um, and I guess it's a good sign. As
Absolutely.
I just mentioned, for the short, you see it's Chocho's story. He's the hero, but people seem to get that. It's actually about the parents, especially it's about the stepfather Jiahao.
Right,
That's
because
correct.
they shape the child essentially, and make him into the character that he is. So it's only natural to kind of look up to the parents too, to see, okay, what is it about their dynamic that
Yeah,
makes him the way he is?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And the character is I think also the actor who played Jahao, Stephen Zhang, is very he's very charming in a way, I guess, to the
Yes.
audience on the camera. Yeah.
Yes, I think he really brought his character to life, and yes, so yes, we'll definitely be rooting for a future.
I'm
Now,
trying. I'm trying.
now the description that you had for the film states that Swingin is the first dramedy music film of its kind since the legalization of gay marriage in 2019. How has the representation of same-sex relationships changed in film and media over the past 2 years since legalization?
Well, I mean, Taiwan is well, before the legalization of same-sex marriage, Taiwan has been it's the gay and LGBT community has been working very hard to tell stories of our own. I guess, and so the vibe was already quite free, and vibrant even before that. I guess that's also why the same-sex the legalization could be pushed forward, because the communities was doing a lot of work, including making films, telling stories, or doing a lot of activities and showcases, so I get, and so that's why I think that's part of the well, probably was one of the main reasons, the people here uh, have been watching all these LGBT themes, stories. So people are learning, have been learning, and they're still learning. And I guess the big change, the major change after um, the same-sex marriage is that people start to tell stories in a different tone. Like it was quite repressing, uh, the vibe was repressing before the legalization. But so the stories were also quite repressing too, and you tell a lot of we see a lot of um, tearful, sorrowful stories, and you know,
Mhm.
um, heavy, heavy. Everything's were heavy, in the story. So, but since last year or even like 2019, you start to see comedies, like or people are trying to tell story in a different way. Like people are trying to tell first to tell gay stories or in a way that they are just normal per people. They are not special. Okay, that's one thing. And the other, from my observation, is that people start to tell the story in a different tone, in a lighter tone. So I guess that's the big change. Yeah. But for feature length, I haven't really seen that big of a change yet. I do see like web series and YouTube videos and a lot of people, gay people, or well, I have to say admit that gay people are still the main force. We haven't really seen a lot of um, uh, uh, lesbian stories. I mean, there are, but we could um, make more efforts to have the space and have the um, um, LGBT, the full community to come in and tell the stories. Mm, yeah, so I guess that's the main tone of it.
I really like how you describe that because I really felt like um, I can agree with you in that, the past, gay Asian films that I've seen, at least like the last three, they all ended in tragedy. And so
Right.
it was like there has to be more lighthearted, or not even lighthearted, but just like more
Yeah.
happy ending type Asian,
Yeah.
foreign Asian films. And so
Yeah.
I really liked the fact that you focused in, this is a
Yeah.
family story first, and it just happens to be about a gay couple,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
you really balanced that really well.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was. I'm quite. What do you say? I mean, I really enjoyed this experience because I was doing a lot of research, while I was writing the story, and I did not know many gay parents before, but for this story, I had to do some research. So I was interviewing some people, and I didn't know even before the same-sex marriage legalization, there were gay parents. They were trying to have kids, in many ways, not just for the what do you call what's the word for uh, sorry, I just suddenly I can't remember the word for what you have when you
Artificial insemination.
yeah. There were other ways to have a
Hmm.
child.
Right.
So but I didn't really write it in this story. So but it was amazing to just to know people, like, and to know real stories,
Hmm.
and they are normal people. They are ordinary people, like daily life. They're everywhere, and I think it's good to portray people in that way, to portray this community in that way. They're just your neighbors, your friends, your brothers, your sisters, and they could be your parents too. you know.
No, I think that, I think Stephen and Mountain did a really great job in honoring those, gay parent stories and or same-sex couple stories of, wanting to raise a family and, all the the obstacles and challenges along the ways of doing that. Um, how how easy or difficult was it for each character or for each actor to step into their role? Did they
Uh-huh.
put kind of their own take on their character, or did they kind of use a lot of the references that you used into shaping these characters?
Um, um, I will let them know your command, and I think they really like it. And so Mountain Gao plays Stephen in the story, and Stephen Zhang
Yeah.
plays Hu Zhao in the story. Um, they are very different people, like from the look or from or from the characteristics. They're actually quite different. And when I had the story, I already know I want these two looks, these two different look and two different characters. And so when I was doing the casting, it took me a while to find the right fit. And luckily, I had Mountain and Steven cast. And Mountain is actually now he's a father of two kids, and naturally he's a father, and his kids the same age with about the same age of Chocho, so he is now like a parenting,
So he had great, yeah, personal
yeah,
experience in this.
he's naturally he knows about everything about kids, okay, and but before he became a mature and sexy dad, um, he has been a young and wild and daring and again sexy actor, model, and singer, for about 2 decades. Okay, and I didn't meet him until this project, and I didn't meet in person, this project. And it's funny because he said, this is his actually first gay role, and he said that he kind of feel, you know, he was questioning like himself. Why didn't he was actually asking, why didn't people, come approach him for a gay role, until I did, because he's been like the wild card, and but nobody thought about it. Or maybe people thought about it, but didn't really approach him. So, but I think I like the way he is, from the outlook. He's very manly, he's macho, and but he's also quite easygoing. He's a funny person. Okay, I guess one of the reason that he wasn't considered a gay as a gay role for a gay role, because he later he became quite comedian. He's becoming he's more a comedian, and then the TV host. So I guess people weren't thinking him as a um, couldn't think of him as a tragic role. I guess,
Right.
as you mentioned, yeah, in the gay film before, it was more like a tragedy, and so people probably didn't think him that way. And I do need a comic character for my story. So, and but sexy and comic, in manly, it's hard to combine all these three. And Mountain, he's precisely that type, to have all these elements in one person. Um, so he, so when I first him the first time, I was like, oh my god, you're hot, and I said it, in front of him, and he was like, thank you, and um, in a very good way. He knows. He has life stories. I could see from his eyes. He's been in this business for a long time, and he has a lot of stories. And he knows a lot of people, and so he could play this role effortlessly. You know, um, um, yeah. And for Stephen Zhang, um, he's a newborn star here, and um, when I first saw him, he was also prepared. He read the story, and he came in with a different look. I mean, he has many different looks um, on TV, in films. But when he came to the audition, he's already had this jailhouse look, and I knew right away, he's prepared, and he's prepared in the way that I've been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the challenges for them is actually um, working with the kids, because Chocho's um, is not, he's Chocho is actually a 10-year-old kid, and for these two adults to work with the kids, they need some exercises, and luckily these adults are very experienced, and they love kids, by nature, and when they come into in the rehearsal room, these three just simply enjoy their time, playing games together, and so yeah, I did some tricks though. I mean, to kind of just shape
Yeah.
their relationships, but it worked out pretty well. Yeah,
I think, like you said, it helped that they really understood the characters right away, so they were able to really um, integrate themselves into the roles so well. Um, and it's funny that you mentioned, that maybe one of the challenges with working with kids, because like that is kind of the rule of cinema: don't work with kids
yeah,
and don't work with
yeah.
animals.
No. Well, actually, it's a myth. It's a myth. I
Yeah,
love working with kids and animals.
I thought
This is
the
actually my
kids were
first
really good.
film. Yeah, I was working with animals before, but this film I did not. Yeah, but before my previous two films, I worked with animals. So
Mm.
um, yeah, I enjoy working with kids and animals. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so
um, kind of to more of background of, kind of the integral part of the story, which was like the jazz score and the
yeah.
the music. Can you tell us about the musical score, and was it original music?
Yes, it's original music. It's composed by Terry Xianmingyan, an old time friend, and But this is actually his first composed work for film. Terry has been himself a saxophone player, a very successful and mature saxophone player here, and a little bit well known also in Japan. He's getting there, and he has a lot of gigs and a lot of shows. And I've known him when we were kids, but when I had the story and when I had jazz in the story, I knew I was going to work with him. And so when I got my script ready, I showed it to him, and right away he gave me lots of. Actually, I didn't even send it to him beforehand. I had an appointment, and we sat down in the restaurant, and I gave him the script, and he read it there, and right away he gave me feedbacks and honest feedbacks and a lot of good feedbacks on characters and story. So we right away, I know our frequency is similar, and our chats are always like jamming, improvisational, talking, and then like bouncing, on each other's ideas, and back and forth. And I enjoy working with him. Improvise. It's quite inspirational. Inspiring. And yeah, and he. So we talked about the story, and we wanted. So we came up with the, two songs for the story, for the film. And so when you see the film, you listen to one conventional jazz swinging, tone, and then you hear a different one, and that's much slower pace. And so we got two songs, and I highly enjoyed it and enjoy the works he composed. And I think it's I never had any doubts during the process, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely added another level of emotions. That's something that's really nice about
Yeah.
music, is that it really drives home that, other layer of, not
Yeah.
only what you feel as an audience, but what the characters feel
Yeah.
during that moment that the music is playing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
really liked
Terry,
that.
yeah, and Terry knows music in a film is a character too. To me, a music. If you want to use a music in a movie, oftentimes it has to be a character, or it has to be related to a character. It's part of the character. So so music is not just music, to sound good to, or just to um, touch people. I don't really want to touch people. I want to. Uh, music for me is a force of narrative, and so it has to be related to character. Yeah, and in this case, it definitely is. Uh, uh, the song. These two songs are, uh, Jaha's characters. Part of Jaha's character and also part of Chocho's character. And Terry knew it from the top. So he's doing a great job.
Yeah. And then diving more into your creative process, the cinematography was just, stunning with all the living visuals. One of the examples that I just really stood out to me was the nighttime scene where it
Yes.
was across the river and all those storefront lights were reflecting, and it kind of resembled a rainbow. Did
Yeah.
did you actually know that spot beforehand, or did you just stumble upon it?
No.
Like, it seemed very coincidental.
It is coincidental, but I like it that way. I
Yeah.
like making films. When I make films along the way, I always like to pick up some coincidental shots or images, or even like I really like to pick some unplanned acting, from actors. Um, but back to that scene that you just the rainbow shot that you mentioned. Um, there's it is the well, first the film was shot in Kaohsiung City. The city government kindly and fully supported our film, and so I was doing all the scouts in Kaohsiung, and there was this very famous river called Love River, Love River in Kaohsiung, and it's very beautiful, and so I was doing the scout there at night. Um, I did plan to pick up water scenes, as you might have seen, or you might not be aware, but did I did have what do you call a structure for water coming in throughout the film. Okay, so I was thinking a lot about water, how I use water in the image in the film, and so I was purposefully doing the scouts, at Love River, and then I was there at night, and I saw I actually didn't see the rainbow reflection first. I was just seeing bright neon lights, on the street, and I was thinking, oh, maybe this is good. I could pick this, pick the neon lights, shoot these neon lights, and they're already kind of rainbowish, and but my DP came in, and we saw not just the neon lights on the street, but the reflection on the water, at night. So it was coincidental, but I really loved it, and we kept it in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
So
yeah, that was one of
yeah,
my favorite shots. I mean,
yeah,
everything was really, really pretty, but I was just like, oh, that stuck out to me because of, just the presence of the film. So
yeah, I was trying to give more of a happy tone in the story, happy gay tone, story. So yeah.
absolutely. And that kind of leads into my next question. This year's film festival theme was about raising communities, and the film spotlights raising a child in the same-sex household. How did you feel that it was, or I'm sorry, why did you feel it was important to show a film with this family dynamic, and what do you hope others take away from this film?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to tell a universal story, and I guess the characters, they are gay, and they are gay parents, gay family. And that this is their story, but more importantly, I guess I'm trying to tell a story about, like I just said, normal people, and I want people to see, everyone, on this planet is just like you and me. Everyone has his or her own difficulties, their own um, or their happiness, his or her own happiness or tasks. Everyone is just, you know, uh, we're just all human beings, right? And um, so to see a story like this, you are observing, in this sense, I'm trying to portray them as just normal people, and then they are having the same uh, tasks, problems, like everyone else, so with this observation, I hope people would have more compassion, more wisdom um, to see things in daily life. They learn from other people's story, so they can have compassion because they have some experiences from from the story, and so when they go back to their daily life, normal life, they can have a little more wisdom, a little more patient, little wider eyes, the vision to see things. And yeah, so I guess to have compassion, and one just has to be, be observing, and start to have conversations within his or himself or herself, and then one can go and start to have conversations with his or her family, and starting from one person, and then two people, and then three and four. Yeah, I guess and family is the closest a community that we can have, right? Everybody um, has one or two family members, even you don't have a it's not uh, you're not, if even you're born without parents, then you start to find someone who is close, right? And you see this person as a family member. Yeah, so I guess this is something that I want to that I like to try, and I'm still trying with storytelling.
Definitely came through.
I hope
And
that's clear, because I'm
yes,
trying to. This is a more like a difficult question to articulate, so I'm just trying to.
no,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, with my English, I just had to. Yes,
No, no, it
try
definitely came
to
through.
tell you, articulate. Yeah, but I hope you get
No,
what I'm trying to
yes.
say. Yeah,
Well, and that's the great thing about film is that, you put out a piece that's your own vision, but at the same time, because other people see it in their own perspective, they have different interpretations of it. And so
right,
even though they may get your your vision of the story, they also can have their own takeaway that,
right,
is relatable just to. So I think that's the beauty of film and
right,
storytelling.
right, right, right. Yeah, right. I guess that's why people love watching films. Yeah, and if there are diverse stories, people get to see this and that, just to to see all these different films. It's like films like when you have windows, you can look into other people's world, and that world is more like psychological, or sometimes it's not even psychological. It's just you know it's undescribable, world.
Mm.
Um, and you will learn something. You always learn something or experience something from watching a film.
Absolutely. And diving right back into films and projects, are there any upcoming projects that you're currently working on that you can tell us about, besides the feature to Swinging?
Yeah, I haven't I had been rewriting some notes and synopsis for swinging the feature um, form. I did have one draft, but I kind of just I put it down, and then you know reshaping after making this short. And but I'm contemplating, because of this pandemic, and you know um, you know like when well, for example, when I started to write swinging, the feature, and it was actually more of a thriller, and or a little horror elements. Okay, that was
Really?
before. Yeah, that was before um, the legalization of same-sex marriage, right? And then after that, after the marriage, that could happen, I didn't want to do the thriller anymore, so I just pick part of the story, and put it into a more like a comedy sense, a film. So now is it's this is still like we are still in the middle of the of this pandemic crisis, and I don't know really. I Because I'm if making a film, you put so much energy, and you get so many people to work with you. I feel like I really need to have a solid a story, and with emotion, strong urge to, to tell, So then I will get going. So during this time, it's really, I don't know. My mind and heart is still like, I don't know. I'm reacting to the crisis now. So I don't know what really will come up next, and I cannot promise, but for swinging, but I do also have other uh, uh, story outlines that I'm writing. It's more reacting to the crisis right now, and I could say, yeah, they're kind of back to kind of theater or horror kind of genre now because of this crisis, right? And
Right.
yeah, so I'm just following my gut feelings, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it does help, to kind of do a 180 in terms of projects because it helps you refresh your mind, and you can always go back to it later on, like get back to the
Yeah,
lighthearted perspective.
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like
And
when you're eating, you go on a diet and you trick your body
yeah,
into like, you know, into getting back into shape. So you have to shock it.
yeah, yeah. I hope this is a good diet now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I hope so. Let's hope for the best.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And if audience members can watch your film again, how can they view or purchase it?
We are trying to sell it for online streaming. But we haven't reached the deal yet. So I guess we're now we welcome any discussions right now. If you want to buy or you want to see it, in your country or in your wherever you are. But I can tell you that right now, the film it will be screening at other festivals like in Hong Kong this month at Fresh Wave International Short Film Festival, and also in Korea Film Festival. So these two, they are it's coming. They're coming soon, and there are other several festival screenings, but I can't announce yet. And so just follow Swinging Film on Facebook, and you will get to know where you can watch the film. Yeah,
Well, very cool. Thank you so much, Daniel, for taking the
thank
time
you,
out to come
thank
talk
you
to
very
us.
much.
It's been a pleasure, being able to
My
screen your
pleasure.
film.
My pleasure.
So, well, we want to wish you oh, thank you so much for joining, Daniel. Um, Audience, if you'd like to follow Daniel and all of the updates about Swingin, please follow his book, Swingin Film. We'll also share the information on our social media as well. And this concludes day 7 of Happy Fest. Tomorrow's film block will be Raising Second Chances. Time waits for opportunities for a second chance happen more than you think. But would you do things differently or stay the same course? These 3 films face the what ifs. So please, if you haven't already, buy your ticket and passes to come watch tomorrow's film block. We'll also be engaging in a live Q&A with the filmmakers from 3-Second Rule and Tales of the Circle Keys. You don't want to miss it, so go check out haapifest.com. Have a great evening.